Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Escape the 4Z, and we are back with the Kings of Sinks competition. We are in Season 4, round number 2, and I'm here with some good buddies of mine, judges, representatives of the competition, Dr. Jaden.
Hello.
Exclusively Nerdbox. And
Yo.
Yes.
It's your boy.
All right, so we got so many competitive sinks ready to be reviewed, and we're ready to find out who's going to be moving on to that finale. 2 slots are open from each of the 4 individual groups, so we're ready to find out who's going to be moving on. So before we go through the results, exclusively Nerdbox, we are here with exclusively Nerdbox to explain how the scoring works. Don't get super complicated, Nerdbox. Just
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
So, the way the scoring is set up is for each sink, there will be 5 categories that will be judged, each with a specific weighting in the score. You have note accuracy and gun choice, mixing and mastering, technical complexity and composition, effects and theme, and then a personal subjective score. And the weightings are 22.5%, 22.5%, 22.5%, 17.5%, and 15% respectively. These, each category is scored out of 10, and then is normalized across the entire scoring range to enable the judging to be consistent across all judges, to eliminate personal bias, which might lead one judge to have more voting power in actually giving out their scores. These normalized scores are then multiplied by the weighting function and added up to a score out of 100. So the scoring range for each individual judge is between 0 and 100. All of these scores are then averaged across all of the judges to give the final score.
Is that it?
Yep.
Alright.
Okay, you know, I was just waiting because I'm just like, wait quietly. Oh, is that? And then Jaden like, oh, is that it? I didn't want to be that guy this time around. I did that the last time, but anyways, that's the scoring template, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to say, we have to give Nerdbox a huge thank you for putting that scoring system together. He's done a lot of work to put that together. So huge round of applause for Nerdbox before we go right into stuff. There we go.
Yeah. Take a bow.
Shut up, PGS, you scrub. Okay. You're here for comedic relief only. That's it. I'm just kidding. That's okay.
Family-friendly comedic relief.
All right, so with that, we're going to be going right into the scores. Let's start with group number 1. And the 6 sinkers that were competing in this particular group were Jarail, Half-Beast, Explorer, Kuda, Mayaki, Lightning, and I'm Just a Gamer. So 2 of these 6 gun sinkers are going to be ready to move on to the finale. So with that, here we go. Starting in 6th place with a total score of 38.03, we have Kuda Mayaki. And I have to say, compared to his first round submission, there was just a lot of missed potential, and it seems like the sink was just, I would say, overall rushed. It wasn't really, like, it didn't have that potential that it could truly have. So with that, Nerdbox is going to explain the technical specifics. Go ahead.
Well, my opinion on this one was the introduction just overall seemed quite lazy. There was poor use of negative space with the effects. The build-up it's a percussion loop with 1 switch up. So much more could have been done here with the guitar lead or even the synth that's in the background. When you got to the drop, I felt the mix was very poor. It renders a lot of the notes you're using hard to hear, and overall the sync is just very short and stops abruptly.
Yeah, in terms of what I thought about the sync, I took a lighter approach to this. I thought I enjoyed the sync more than the other ones. I personally gave it a bit of a higher score because I did like how you happened to compose the drop a lot. But then I do have to agree with the fact that some of your guns are too quiet, the sync is too short in that aspect. And there's not really much that sets your sync apart from the other syncs, so you didn't have much to stand out, so I guess that's contributed to why you didn't get such a high score.
All right, PGS, you got any other words of wisdom for this sync?
That's a funny meme.
Great.
There you go. That's like
Wise words of PGS.
Top-notch
Yes,
feedback.
So Kuda, in quotations, Kuda's sync was a funny meme according to PGS. So Yeah, this is why we have you on comic relief. PGS is exactly.
PGS doesn't know what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Exactly. I can barely fucking control my life. I don't even know how to fucking control my words.
Oh yes, and also PGS is also playing GTA in the background as we're doing this. So PGS is asking like a motherfucker.
You know, totally invested in my passion.
Yeah,
His
sure.
passion. Oh my god.
That's wonderful. All
If
right.
it was my actual passion, I would be, you know.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's move on to the guy who finished 5th place. So finishing in 5th place with a total of 38.61. Not finishing too far ahead of Kuda. We have Explorer Gunsync. I have to tell you though, I mean, I know his score was very low and like his sync had a lot of like, there was some stuff that was missing in this sync, but yet, just every time the intro pops up, it's cool. I love this intro. I just love that he does this like video game type intro. It's something it's one of the little things that separates him from everybody else. Not that I'd give it like a lot of points or anything if I were judging, quote unquote, if I were judging, but I just thought the intro was really cool. That he always has this like underlying theme and stuff like that. But however, we're gonna be moving on to the duration of the actual sync itself. I would say that it was not bad. It was not a bad sync, but I would definitely say that his first sync really had that like punch in the beginning where the kind of like the weapons going off, the sounds, like everything. It seemed like it was more in sync, more a lot less accuracy issues, or just in general, just a lot more consistent. Where the gun sync that we see here from Explorer right now is a little bit more, I'd say, on the inconsistent side to where it could be. So with that, Nerdbox will explain the specifics.
So, my kind of take on this, well, my feedback is actually quite lengthy and reasonably detailed because I wanted to like this sync and I wanted it to score so much higher than it did. But my general opinion of it was the intro gimmick that you used, it was the same as last time. But the thing that irked me was it was inferior to your round 1 entry. The CRT, like, horizontal line syncing effect was very jarring and made the text hard to read. It was used on every screen, whereas before it was used just once at the end to accent the transition. The pulsing effect at the start is cool. You neglected to fade out the clips completely, leading to abrupt stops in the sound. The typography was cool and well executed. The glow could have been slightly larger to emphasize the text more. The CC was quite strong, but it fits the theme and is not particularly overpowering. The mix is low throughout, quite low in fact, and this really kind of hampers the score, or at least my score, because the mixing and mastering element was quite crap, for lack of a better word. Some places are better than others though. In the drop, I had some issues with the sound design. It just some of the notes you were using didn't feel complete. They don't fill the sounds as well as they should. Also, some notes were quite lazily done and felt like volume was dropped on purpose. For example, at 138, when you cut into that small little switch up, it just it couldn't hear it. It didn't have drive behind it. It was quite obvious that it was ducked. The pull forward effect at 3 minutes in needed some sort of glow and shadow to emphasize the framing of the background. And the CC over contrast removes the contrast needed between the two in that effect. So that's why you need the shadow, because by over contrasting it, you ruin the definition between the edge of the frame and the frame behind. The ending is quite abrupt, but it works.
Well, I think everything that I have to say has already been said already, but just one additional point I'd like to make is, like, I really like the fact that you incorporated different guns using the mod pack from Black Ops 3. I'd like to see this more often because I just want to see more variety in guns. I'm getting sick of seeing the same preset default 52 weapons in Black Ops 3 or however there is. But that was bonus points for me for incorporating creative guns. But again, you ultimately lost this round because you didn't handle the technical aspects of this gun sync quite well. So again, just keep it up, but just try to refine your art is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that too. Like, I've noticed like a different variety of weapons there. Like, I was gonna mention that too. I'm like, I completely forgot about it. But I really love the weapon variety in this sync, though. That was definitely a nice touch, though, for sure. No questions asked. PGS, you got any words of wisdom?
He's not paying attention. Next.
All right,
That was very
I'm
good
gonna-
words of wisdom. Put that in quotes.
I really like the intro overall, but I don't know, the sync just felt like all the other things that you have made for other competitions. I mean, the part that really makes you stand out is mostly the intro. One or two cases where it's the song, but overall I say the try to get that creativity that you get on the intro and try to put that on the sing itself.
That's actually an interesting idea. That would be really cool to see. That's
Valid
very good.
feedback.
Yeah, look at that! BGS gave valid feedback. Hey, look at that! Awesome. Good job, BGS. What a judge. All right. So with that, let's move on to. Oh, that's gonna be a good one for a while. Okay, moving on to the man who finished 4th place, finishing off in 4th place with a total of 42.78. We have the Half Beast, and just as a heads up, Half Beast is coming in to replace Keen Falcon, who was originally here. So now we have Half Beast coming in for the just to come in and replace him. But
Just bear in mind, he had about 2-ish weeks in order to finish the sync, so props to him to managing to finish this in that allocated amount of time. So
Yeah, I'm
even
just
though
saying
you landed 4th, we are still proud of you, buddy.
yeah, his time management, all things considered, with the sync itself was not too bad. I have to say, pretty good on time management. But in terms of the actual sync, you could definitely tell it was rushed for sure. And I can understand why it was rushed, but at the same time, there's just a lot of kind of like missing. I'd say this sync did not pack that punch. Where mostly in the audio, in terms of like the weapon choices that he made, and especially at the 49-second marker when he's shooting the light machine gun. I forget what I think it's a BMR. I forget the name of the weapon, but you could barely hear the sounds for the weapon, and I just feel like he could have chose better weapons for the weapons that he made. Although, I do have to say too, he really heavily relied on, I would say, I made a name for this too. I would call it the Jaden Spear, as we would call it.
The Jayton Spear.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, like, I've seen a lot of effects throughout this entire competition, which are very J.exe, and are obviously very inspired by the last year's winning piece.
Oh, I'm humbled.
So we've developed a new name, the Jaden Spear. At least that's what I like to call it now, and I think you'd be more than happy.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
Hey, no problem, man. But the one thing I do like about the sync, though, getting back to it, it was kind of like a bonus for me. Obviously, like, he didn't really focus on the audio, and that's really what killed his sync ultimately. But I really like that he tried something different with some of the effects. The spear may not have been the most creative thing in the world, but like looking at the sides, how the different rotations that he's adding into the mix definitely adds a little bit of creativity to it. But ultimately, for me, for sure, is the fact that this sync just did not have the audio capabilities of the rest of the gun syncs out there, and that's really what killed this sync.
Okay. I felt like the mix overall was quite low. The mix in the build-up was low. The large overhead synths that could have been synced in the build-up were neglected for the sake of simplicity. The voice lines that you threw in could have given you a creative edge, but they were handled poorly. They were very, very loud, especially compared with the low mix of everything else. And quite often they were out of place. They didn't really fit. They weren't in time. In the drop, the sprays you were using in the pitch matching wasn't right. It was detuned. And some of the notes you were using kind of lacked the sustain and don't really fill the sound design that the song is putting forward.
Okay, so what I would have to say about the sync is, I think most of what actually has been said already, but I think your sync just lacked that punch, that impact that the spray should have, because it just sounded like some of the guns sounded the same because they were all sped up like that. They were a bit quiet, and honestly, the visuals were pretty interesting, but honestly, you did lack in the audio aspect of things. But I do have to give you credit for doing something at least unique. You did the not the rotating spheres, but the
rotating boxes.
The boxes, yeah, but like not in the way. But it's just a new kind of concept, which I think it could have worked if it was like executed properly along with the other technical aspects. But like in this thing, you just didn't hit the mark. So I'm sorry, but yeah, it didn't help you too hard, and that's why you ultimately received a low score. But I'm glad you managed to finish it while you did.
Yeah, all things considered, for sure. Half Beast had a very good run. All things considered there. So, huge shout out to Half Beast for coming in to replace Mr. Keen Falcon there. And PGS, you got any words of wisdom?
Yeah, try not to copy the same effects that some other thinkers made, but try at least your absolute best to improve on those effects.
Yeah, like for example, a good example would be like the style of kinetic typography that I used to use. No one has really emulated it.
Self-plug.
Mainly because I told no one how it works. But
Yeah,
that was
because
always
nobody knows you.
Dab in the fuck's sake. But it's small things like that that you can chisel out your own style and you can chisel out your own theme and then roll with that and you have a unique feel. Like for example, like Turtle, for example, the way he does his typography and the way he does his transitions and effects are very distinct. Distinct from someone like Jay, who uses a lot of like perspective manipulation and effects like that. Everybody has their own kind of unique twist that you should really try and strive to carve your own. And this doesn't go for you. This goes for quite a lot of other people in this competition that have used like very Jay-esque effects.
The Jaden Spear.
Yeah,
Jaden Spear.
You shouldn't. Okay, I learned by emulation, but you should try and learn and then adapt them into your own vision of what you want your sync to be. You shouldn't make your sync to be someone else's. You should make your sync in your own vision.
Wise words.
I mean, be just like me. I don't add any effects at all, and that's why I don't upload.
But like, here's just a tip on if you want to learn more visual effects like I did. You should check out some of the examples from the YouTube music video community, because like, despite how silly the videos may seem, they actually have a lot of interesting ideas that they have with After Effects. Because I've tried to emulate some of them myself, but like I haven't even come close to it. So check that out. There are a bunch of hidden gems there. If you do want to try to like make something that stands out, try to look at some of those videos for inspiration.
Jason, if you wanna make these sinkers compared to fucking Sparta remix faggots,
dude, extra points.
I'm on Savage. I'm on Savage.
Jesus Christ.
I'm recreating this competition in my image.
Oh Jesus. All right, we're gonna. I think it's time we move on. Next sync. Let's go. Okay, so with that, we are gonna be moving on to third place in group number 1. This is the guy who finished one spot off of moving on to the finale. So finishing in third with a score of 43.55 and finishing 2 points off of second place, we have Lightname BN, which this is going to be basically pretty heartbreaking, I'd say, and I'm going to be dead ass about it. This is a heartbreaking spot to finish in, just in general. You don't want to hear that you finish the spot just below the guy that's moving on. But anyways, moving on.
He's only got 2 points difference.
Yeah, but that's crazy. It shows that every part of the sync really matters, where the guy who finished second probably had a little bit more consistency than this sync. But I would say, in general, with Lightname's sync, personally, I really liked it, and I thought it was really good. And, like, the sprays were really nice, but there was just a couple things that I would particularly say that was kind of, I'd say that's a little bit weaker in this sync. Not necessarily, it wasn't really, like, terrible. It wasn't, like, bad, but it was, like, I feel like the Modern Warfare 3 part was relatively weak compared to how he normally does Modern Warfare 3. Although, at the very end, when he did Advanced Warfare, that was definitely the strongest part of his sync for sure. Where the problem with this sync, basically, is what I'm trying to say is consistency. The end was a lot more, it had a lot more of that speed, a lot more of that, that oomph in the sync compared to the beginning of the sync, or in the middle of the sync, I would say, at least the Modern Warfare 3 part for sure, where it was relatively weak, more so with gun choice, not really with the speed and stuff, but just the weapons choices and stuff like that, at least with the shotgun in the very beginning, and then when it came to the C4 and the KSG, I believe, which was, and also that blur effect there was kind of really unnecessary when he threw the C4, and because every time he threw the C4, and this would be at around the 150 marker, around there, he would throw the C4, and the screen would blur each and every time he throws the C4, so I'm not sure why he added that blur there, which is really weird, but and then it switched to KHD. That had no work. But anyways, Nerdbox, give us some specifics.
Okay. I was actually on the contrary to that. I thought the Modern Warfare 3 section was the strongest. But, like, running through my feedback, Jesus Christ, calm the S_shake. Like, I understand the point of the effect, but using it too much is a good way to turn someone like me off, because it just looks really obnoxious, particularly when the frequency is high.
Yeah, you want to make it so that it's subtle, so you can barely notice it.
Or if you use it for like one drop of the sync and then you don't use it for the rest of it, then something like that.
High frequency is really good for accentuating certain effects, but when you use it all the time, it's obnoxious as hell. The mix gets very, very busy by the end. It almost becomes like a wall of sound. The song transitions I felt were really jarring and didn't really flow well. The first two parts were okay. The Modern Warfare 3 section is the strongest, as I've said. The second from last Advanced Warfare section is okay, but the mix is far too high. The last part, the mix is even busier and higher. The notes are blurred in that, and there is a good amount of clipping distortion in places. This is a pet peeve from the entire competition, really, is a mashup is only as good as its constituent parts. So some effects were quite jarring and didn't really add much. Everything looks really blurry and smudged as well. If you're using RSMB, fix your settings, refine your settings, make the tolerances slightly better for the motion blur, because everything just looks like it's smudged into oblivion.
Well, I think everything's been said, except I do want to highlight that S-shake points. Honestly, this was hurting my eyes because it was way too distracting. I couldn't focus on the screen because the screen was just shaking too much, so I had to reach the point where you just had to listen to the sync. So yeah, you did lose a lot of effects points from me, but your composition wasn't bad, but yeah, the mixing could have used some work in.
So PGS, any words of wisdom for our audience here?
Another funny meme.
Great. Yeah. So you got nothing to say about Lightning Sync. Alas, we're gonna have to. Someone would have to be put in that position either way. So that's the other way we got to think about it as well. But with that, we're gonna move on to whoever. We now know who's gonna move on to round number 2 from Group 1. But where did they stand and how many points did they get? So finishing in second place with a total of 45.76, we have I'm Just a Gamer, and I have to say, this was a surprise, an absolute huge surprise coming in. And first of all, big shout out to I'm Just a Gamer, who is coming in to replace, I believe it was Reese GS, who there was a situation, was caught cheating. So he got kicked out of competition. I'm Just a Gamer comes in and replaces him. And yeah, big goof there. But I'm Just a Gamer, he really took every last advantage that he got from being able to come into round number 2 in this condition. And the first round, or the first like 20-30 seconds of the sync was a little bit like kind of like every normal average sync, right? But then as the sync hits the drop in about the 1 minute mark early, starting to get there, he actually uses some very interesting weapons choices, and they actually worked out really well. And it was actually really surprising to see that I'm Just a Gamer is now in position to get into the finale, and that's great work from I'm Just a Gamer, though, to put himself in a position like that. And the only thing I would say, though, that was kind of, I don't want to say obnoxious from the sync, but just the CCs were really cool and all, and I love that. And especially the CC at the 1:30 marker, that was definitely my favorite CC for sure. Kind of like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, which is like a really cool effect. But the use of the Tomahawks, I would say work on that a little bit more, because the use of the Tomahawks wasn't really that good. But somebody else may have a different opinion on that, but I just thought that the Tomahawk use was just more so distracting than anything. So, there you go. Nerdbox?
Okay, so my take on this was some of the notes you were using are cut off without correct fading. Some of the notes in the chorus lack sustain for the notes you're hitting. They don't really fit the sound design used in the song. Some notes are good, however. The mix is generally haphazard. There's minor clipping distortion on some of the notes in the drop. I explicitly felt that between 220 and 245, it was quite lazy. There's so much more you could have done here, but you just didn't. The second chorus is superior to the first, but the flamethrower is not a good fit for that note. It really stood out to me as just not being right, particularly as you neglected the pitch changes with it, the so fabled EM1 problem. I also felt that the shake on your watermark is unneeded and a bit distracting.
I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I feel like the S shake you were using were you increased the amount of S shake for like the really impactful parts of your sync, and then you decreased it when it was just going normally. So I don't know if that was intentional, but I think that was a pretty cool effect on my part. I did really enjoy the fact how you changed to CC. It wasn't too dramatic to the point where we're looking at a light show, but it was subtle enough so that we could appreciate the small changes that you made. So very good job on CC. I think this is one of the better examples of how people should use CC from now on. And yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, light at the end of the tunnel, man. That was, I have to say, I can't stop saying it. That was one of my favorite CCs I've ever seen. That CC 130. It was really creative. It was cool, and like it brought the center of the attention to the sync, and then like you could still see the weapons. It's not like overly obnoxious, but it's cool. It's like you're in that cave and there's that light there that you're reaching for. The bullet is going for, and it's really cool. I love the theme behind it. It was a really nice touch. So PGS, any words?
I like Candy.
Wise.
All right, wise words. All right, let's. So with that, we're moving on, and congrats to I'm Just a Gamer for getting into the finale. So good stuff from him. We're gonna see. Well, hopefully he'll have a very good showing in the finale. He's definitely one of the dark horses in this competition for sure. So with that, now we're gonna be moving on to the winner of group number 1 with a dominating victory in this group, finishing with a 72-66. Jarail.
My boy.
Dominating.
My suka bliad.
My man. I love that meme, by the way. But anyways, this sync was just fast. It was furious. It was accurate. It was basically everything I could have ever asked for in a Battlefield sync. And usually it's really difficult to add a lot of variety into Battlefield syncs and stuff. But this sync had pretty good variety, all things considered, since it was one game. And usually when you do like more games and stuff, you're expected to add more variety and stuff. And that's just kind of like that expectation. And then otherwise it'd just be a average or below average multi-COD sync or something like that. But this Battlefield sync, all things considered, just everything flowed well. The choices, the weapons were fantastic, and it just sounded beautiful. Absolutely. It was honestly my favorite sync from round number 2 for sure. Starbucks?
This was a good sync. It was a very good sync. The build-ups were completely excellent. The chorus could have been better. That's just a personal thing. The effects were minimal, and I felt really added little. Nothing really jumped out and wowed me, but it is a very solid sync. And just a minor gripe, the video has obvious compression artifaction. I understand that people don't have the best internet connections in the world, but the video compression was reasonably noticeable, and in the busier parts really was a detriment to the video quality.
I also agree with Nerdbox's point about your course could have been a little bit more complex because there was a bit of missed potential in there, but ultimately you did go above and beyond for the intro parts because those were probably my favorites, one of my favorites in the entire competition. Using the shotguns at the exact correct points. CC, though it was simple, it worked. So I like that. Nothing too distracting on the sync. I did like the fact how you use the corner screens for your guns. It's something new. At least it's just not the typical boxes. You added some Gaussian blur.
The great old Gaussian blur.
You feathered out the borders on that, and it's a circle shape and not a typical box shape. So I just think that at least you did something to stand out from everyone else.
Just a quick gripe, can neither of you say Gaussian correctly?
It's Gaussian.
Yeah, it's Gaussian, isn't it? You love
Aluminium.
Nerdbox, you love America.
Sure.
Yeah, we definitely fucked up the saying on that at some point, and anyways, One more thing I want to mention too about this sync: the fact that Jarrell picked the song. It's called "Escape." I literally just noticed that, like, literally a day or two ago.
It wasn't because of you, Escape. Shut up.
I know it's not because of me, but still,
Hey,
I'm talking about the theme of the song and the choice of the song and how fast it was. It definitely really fit the theme of the song. The song choice was great.
Hey, use the song
Yes,
by
I am.
Pegboard Nerds. Extra point from Nerdbox.
Amen.
But,
Amen.
Now what?
Less point from me because he didn't use trap.
He used Noise Storm, which is a pretty good artist. So I mean,
Yeah, Noise Storm's good.
yeah. So PGS have a little bit less music biased bag.
Jarrell Singh really reminded me of Mr. Music Tracks.
Oh yes, yes.
He always had this thing with Battlefield, not Battlefield, but every single song he gave me this thing, that he didn't need to use any sprays, but he kept the flow of the song.
Yeah, it definitely
That's
reminded me a little
very
bit of the music track.
That's what I really felt with Jarrell Singh.
So with that, from group number 1, congratulations to Jarrell and I'm Just a Gamer. They're going to be the first 2 sinkers moving on to the finale. So with that, we're going to be moving on to group number 2, where we have these 6 sinkers. We have Commando Derp, Sturm Down, Mini Ghost, Shadow Gamer, Hoang, Music Gamer, and I probably botched the name, and
Again?
Aquarius. Again, shut up. And Aquarius Gaming.
Trademark of Escape, botching up names since season 1.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Vietnamese names. Come on, leave me alone.
Tabushi.
That was German. All right, fuck off. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I pronounced it correctly the first time around.
I know you did because you Europeans know how to pronounce everything.
No, it's because you're from
Ooh.
Jersey, that's why.
Yeah, it's true. Okay,
Boys.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. People from Jersey don't know how to pronounce it. You're right. Okay, let's moving on. So finishing in 6th place from group number 2 with a 40.52, we have Music Gamer, Hoang Music Gamer, and
Amazing. Another name killed.
I do have to say though, the sync that he tried to do, I thought in the beginning, right? Like, cause he used the song Permanent, right? And I thought this was gonna be relatively basic sync, at least the way that like I thought that he was gonna try to do it, but he actually tried a much different method. And a lot of people wouldn't probably think about it, right? But like the way he tried to use the sprays and the way that he tried to do like the sync itself, it was definitely different compared to how somebody else would approach Permanent. Although I'm definitely going to have to say it was definitely not done well. It was done very poorly. And just the audio just did not really sound that good. And it was just very inconsistent really throughout. And also, this is an old school type of problem that most people don't really really sometimes utilize a lot. It's not like this was in every single clip, but in a couple clips, you know what I noticed? Disable resample was something that Hoang Music forgot to do in a couple of the clips. Not all of them. Like he did disable resample for most of it, but there was a couple of the clips where I pause it. I see that the resample is not disabled. So make sure to disable your resample. Nerdbox, you may do technical.
Okay, so my take on this was there was quite a bit of clipping distortion throughout. If you don't know what clipping distortion is, go look up things on sound design and general music theory. But also the splaying of the Annihilator didn't really work. I understand what you were going for because when I started syncing with Battlefield 4, and I used to use that technique a lot. But the reason I moved away from it is because the sounds you get out of it aren't very consistent. So try and use sprays in the future. If you really have to do something like that, then just see if you have another choice available from another automatic weapon. The pitch matching in the chorus was poor. Some notes peaked quite highly in the mix. The mix was slightly low in the Modern Warfare 3. The flute was a nice janky touch, but I didn't really feel it fit. The mix was quite busy in the Modern Warfare 3 section. The second song transition was jarring. The black hat in the Advanced Warfare section, damn my ears was that thing piercing and loud. A lot of people do this with the black hat. They normalize it, but there's a big difference between normalizing something and having a very high intensity in one specific harmonic. And the Black Hat, because it's a very piercing, high-pitched noise, if you normalize it, it's technically the same volume, but not the same intensity, to your ears at least. So just tone it back a bit until it sounds sensible. If you don't edit with headphones on, I strongly suggest you do that. My closing point was really, I felt the ending was quite abrupt, it just kind of stopped.
Yeah, one of the criticisms I have with the sync is pacing specifically, because you go from a somewhat smooth to getting faster, and then to your Modern Warfare 2 sync you get turned into really fast, so that's the climax of your sync. But then there's no like slow drop off, it's just a sudden drop to that like slow song, so I feel that really killed the flow of your entire sync. So just make sure you keep, like, if you are going to do a mashup, make sure you do song composition and timing in mind, because you do want it to fade smoothly into the other song instead of just like suddenly dropping it off like that. However, in contrast to Nervox, I did really like the flute aspect to it.
BGS?
Yeah, Nervox, we were talking about that technique that you just spam the same clip of a gun over and over and over instead of using the sprays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's actually a technique from back in the day, like when
it's really old.
Just started popping. Yeah, nowadays it's recommended to use just sprays.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If you know what you're doing, you can make it work, and you can make it work quite well. But
yeah, I've seen a few things with using that technique that really work.
So with that is Hoang Music Gamer finishing in 6th place. So moving on to the guy who finished 5th place. He finished off with a total of 45.04 points. We have Mini Ghost.
It is your boy.
It is indeed your boy. And Mini Ghost going with I'd say similar approach to what he did the last time. Although definitely something I really like about Mini Ghost syncs for sure is just he uses the hammer in a very interesting way, and I really like how he uses it. And he did this the last time as well. Although it feels like this sync kind of went with a very, very similar approach to the last time, and he didn't really try to do anything way out of the box, you know, like where.
Box.
Yeah, exactly. Literally doing something out of the box, literally. But I feel like he could have, like, the sync wasn't bad, at least in my opinion. I thought it was still good, but just he didn't really try to do anything really different. It was just really different songs, you know, same gun sync pack, same games, you know. Maybe try to mix it up. Maybe try to add different games into the mix. Try to do something different. You know what I mean? Nervox?
The logo at the start was low resolution and had artifacting around the edges, but generally this sync was okay. The mix was low and there was significant compression artifaction in places. I also felt that of course the mix, as I've commented on, was low, and the technical complexity in the composition was a bit on the shoddy side, personally.
I did like the touch you put in with the bells, the hammer in Rainbow Six Siege as going along with the bells. I'm not sure if your actual hammers made that sound or if it was the song that actually made those hammer sounds, but I do feel like it was a pretty creative touch. What I would have to say about this is, like, I just didn't like the song, honestly. Like, you were strong in some other aspects of the sync itself, but yeah, the song just wasn't my cup of tea.
And bear in mind that that really only hampers the personal subjective score more than anything.
It did, but like at this point, personal subjective score does take quite a significant role.
Yeah, this is the reason why we've got it for the lowest contributing percentage, because of course music's subjective, syncs are subjective, everybody has their own tastes and opinions on things.
Exactly so.
Yeah, it's more about the tactical aspect of the sync and the technical part of it, where, like, with the weapons that were used and just the kind of like the approach that was taken with the sync. And like I said, I definitely would say try to mix it up every now and then, Mini Ghost. Like, try to do something different. Like, you have great potential. You're a very good syncer with good potential. I just think, you know, if you try something different, something out of the box, literally every once in a while, then you're gonna get a good sync that's gonna be really powerful in the future. And I really hope that you could do more stuff like that, where you can mix in what you did in the beginning, but just add more to it. Just add even more as time goes on. So there you go. Oh yeah, but PGS, do you have any other words of wisdom?
No, just think out of the box, out of the nerd box.
Okay, think out the nerd box. That's going in a quote book. Think outside the nerd box. No, deadass. I'm actually putting that in a quote book. All right. So, finishing in 4th place with a total of 57.23 points, we have Sturmdown. I would say definitely one of the sinkers that really had a really big showing in the first round, where Sturmdown I feel like Sturmdown really made, I don't want to say he made the mistake where he basically put all of his energy into the first round with not really much to really back that up. But in terms of like the speed that I saw from Sturmdown in the beginning, it didn't really seem like he kept up with the speed that good in this sync in particular. At least that would be my general opinion with it. Although outside the speed and, you know, and mostly that would go along with song choices and stuff like that, I would say that his sync was relatively strong. Like, he had a pretty solid score. It was a 57, so it was a very good score, way above average. And there's not really too many things wrong with the sync in general. I just think that there was he just went with kind of the I don't want to say generic approach, where his effects were really nice. I really liked the effects usage that he had there, but the floor part was, I would say, the weaker part for sure. For the most part, really, because the lack of variety that was in that part, with the exception of maybe like I'm not sure if that was an exploding zombie or something in the background. I couldn't really tell. I mean, I don't really play Killing Floor that much, but definitely the strong part of the sync, where the really strong part really comes into play, where Sturmdown's full potential, you get to relive that potential again, is where the Modern Warfare 3 part comes in. That's where his strongest aspect really shows out.
Really? I thought it was his Black Ops 3 part.
Yeah, I was going to also say his Black Ops 3 part was pretty good as well, although the Modern Warfare 3 part was definitely his strongest part. But the point is that I'm trying to make is consistency. Consistency was not really as visible in this video. It was still good, but like it could have been a little bit better. Where the first video, the consistency was there. This video, it wasn't as consistent as it was in the first video, but it was still very consistent. And that is very common when it comes to switching from, because Sturmdown last round did a one song sync. He did one song. This time he's doing multi-cod to try to spice it up a little bit more. And that's definitely the approach you want to take if you like the basic approach. If you start out with a single song sync, then you want to do multiple songs to try to mix it up a little bit more and do something better than the first round. But I just feel like it just wasn't enough. Especially considering his group is extremely competitive. Nerdbox?
To be honest, this sync was very solid all round. As Escape said, this was quite a hard group. There were 4 very good scoring entries in here. Overall, I felt the mix was low. There was very high compression artifaction on this sync. But the effects were good, were competent, but they were overused in places. But the KF2 and the Modern Warfare 3 sections were both very strong and were very, very nice.
Well, I'm going on a different direction from the other judges. I personally thought that your Black Ops 3 part was the best, because not just because of the panoramic scene on the top, but because of the blur. I don't know how to describe it. The blur swish effects of the irregular guns. You focus it on the Black Ops Part 3 the best, and you use it at a nice balanced amount, not over excessively using it, but you did use a variety of different directions, so I did appreciate your Black Ops 3 part. However, I do agree that your Black Ops 3 part was a little too simple, so in audio technical wise, I think that your Modern Warfare 3 part was the best.
You know, I did like that effect that he used though. Like it was pretty nice. It wasn't really shaking though, although I would say don't try to combine too many effects as well. Like if he has the I would say I'd call it the assembly line effect, where
well, we could call it the assembly line.
If you're using the assembly line on the top, right, and then you're adding in other effects other effects come in and distract the person from the top effects and stuff, and it overlays over the effects. So I would say maybe like separating the effects out a little bit, where like when the screen at the 102 marker does the zoom in with the weapon with the sniper, or like the scale in, then like cut out the assembly line for a minute or fade it out and then fade it back in to make it a little bit smoother. At least that's what I would say. Finishing in third place with a total of 66.36 points, we have Commando Derp. 1 spot short again. Well, not again, but he's not going to go to finale again, unfortunately. But I have to say, the fucking dancing banana. Oh my god, the dancing banana. That was
so great.
It was great. Honestly, it was one of the best parts of the sync, but at least for me, for sure. Just especially in the end, where he speeds it up while the bomb song is going off and stuff. But that for me, that's just a little bit of a bonus. But either way, right? Actually, going to the physicality of the sync, right? The beginning, he does this really interesting intro where he goes on Rainbow Six, pulls up some touchscreen or something. I don't really play Rainbow Six that much, so I don't really know much about it. But he has this really cool intro in the beginning. I really like how he does that. Shows his previous videos and then memes it up with the dancing banana in the beginning, and then the transition to come out of that was beautiful. Like it looked like it came out of a game. It came out of his gaming PC setup. That was really smooth and really cool use of that effect. Although I just say that the big issue with this thing, kind of simple, especially when it was in the beginning a little bit. So maybe like it was the song choice. I can't really tell. And then I would love to see more of the moving CS:GO part really come out, where he was like kind of exploring outside some more, you know? Although, because then it just transitioned to the Advanced Warfare part. Although the transitions were pretty flawless in the sync, and I have to say that it was definitely Commando had a pretty strong sync. It's just the only reason he finished third place is I think that second and first were just a little bit better than he was. Nerdbox, what do you have to say?
God, I so wanted this. Like, I started this. The intro was absolutely fucking fantastic. Hands down, fantastic. It had me smiling from ear to ear. The transition to CS:GO was smooth. You could have at least cleaned your house, though, dude.
His house is dirty as shit.
The mix starts off very, very good, but it gets too high towards the end of the sync. The Overwatch section has a huge, absolutely huge clipping distortion. The Modern Warfare 3 section starts off low, and then it gets really high. The chromic aberration effect is really off-putting. The final Overwatch section has a very, very high mix again. Overall, the sync starts good, ends poorly.
My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Yeah, I do agree with Nerdbox. I think your CS:GO intro was your strongest part of your sync, but it just like tapered off because the Modern Warfare 3 part and your Overwatch part, I believe, were a little too simple because it was boring, honestly, for those parts because there was like nothing super high intensity going on. You could have probably chosen like a better, more complex song in order to like truly show your technical skill, but like I do believe that the songs were kind of holding you back. However, I do like the final part, the dancing banana, that added more subjective skill from me.
He went hella hard on the dancing banana. Like, how much energy did he use dancing? I wonder. Like, he used a shitload of energy doing that. Unless he's
yeah, and I enjoyed that. But honestly, if you just made your sync a little bit more complex, you probably could have moved on to the second round. So, sorry.
Yeah, he was just short. Just literally, he was 3 points off. Less than 3 points off from second place. So, tough break there, but a very strong sync indeed from Commando Derp. So, PGS, you got any words that you wanted to say about Commando Sync?
The intro got me hyped. Really fucking hyped. I was pumping the song. I was growing to that.
Yeah, it was a banger.
It just became stale. I'm sorry.
So consistency. Consistency.
I agree.
So with that, Commando, like I said, play the consistent game, and if you get more consistent as time goes on, especially with these competitions, and I have to say, huge props to Commando. He's been here since season 2, and he's been getting better and better and better each and every time he enters his competition. So with that, now we're gonna be moving on to second place, finishing with a grand total of 69.57 points. 69.57 points. And he's going to secure a finale slot. Shadow Gamer.
My boy Shadow.
What a sync from Shadow. And I really thought that in the beginning, like the way that he was taking the direction of the sync, it was going to be the same exact thing as his first sync, right? Where he did the same exact approach, where he did a multi-game sync like his first round. But what he did differently in this sync compared to his last one, he had much more control with the sprays in terms of the audio, and just everything just flowed so smoothly. This sync was so consistent throughout the entirety of the entire. Yes, exactly. There you go. But basically, this sync was fast. It was furious. It was consistent. His song choice was amazing. I love the CC choices that he provided for us, and the length of the gun sync was pretty good too. I'd say 6 minutes is right around that marker where it's like the perfect hotspot for a
Really?
long.
I thought it was a little bit long.
Yeah, no, I mean, personal preference, to be honest with you. I mean, 6 minutes is like, if you want to watch a long gun sync and it's multi-game, then 6 minutes is perfect for me. But that, like I said, it's personal preference. But the effects usage, oh yeah, and another thing. 250, I think it was 250, 253. What a meme. What a fucking meme.
Yeah.
That was a
person that shall not be named, but solid meme, had me grinning.
That was definitely a meme that we're all gonna remember for sure. That's I mean, maybe he could have keyframed it a little bit better, the logos, but it doesn't really matter. I mean,
They got a giggle, that's what it was there for.
Yes, and then also the voice syncs, like he synced up. I'm not sure who that was in the background at I think it was the 3-minute marker, somewhere around there, or 2:59. Someone pops up in the background. I'm not sure who that is, but whoever that is, Shadow voice synced him very well too. Like he's been getting really good at these voice syncs, Shadow. I have to say, like he's been getting a lot better.
He's finding his art.
Nope. And just in general, just consistency, a lot of different games, a lot of action. It was amazing. And Shadow Gamer, congratulations. This is his first finale appearance too. So good shit, Shadow. Well done. Nerdbox?
Okay, so my take on this was I felt the Advanced Warfare section was quite weak. The mix was low in places, and some notes didn't have the sustain they should have. The meme was just right. We've already talked about that. The pre-drop effect was eh. The second Advanced Warfare section suffers from the EM1 problem. You're neglecting a lot of pitch changes for the sake of having the same thing over and over. The Fire in the Hole section was poor. The mix was insanely high. Clipping distortion is rife. I had to knock the volume down a notch. But to be honest, overall, I quite enjoyed this sync. Overall, it was very solid.
Alright. Yeah, this is for me. I think everything that's been said has already been said, but I just, instead of giving you like okay, I have one thing to say. You had an EM1 part, but you synced it how I would have probably used it, because that sound was perfect for the EM1, so I'm going to forgive it. And despite using it, this was very high marks for me. So as a word of friendly advice, you tend to focus on the mashup approach, where you just take one effect, one game, and one aspect of the song, and you just focus it on one particular 1 minute part, and then you move on to another effect, another game, another song, and you focus on that. For your finale sync, I say that I want you to kind of harmonize these effects together. Like, don't over excessively do it to the point where it's distracting, but if you can take this large variety of effects that you clearly know how to handle and use, and you manage to harmonize it, I think we could be looking at a game-winning sync in your finale round. So just try to make sure that your effects are a little more harmonized. Make sure your songs transitions are all as smooth as they are, because I did enjoy the song transition. So this is just a bit of friendly advice for the next round. I think we could be looking at a game winner.
You really think so? That's
possibly. He has the potential. I
agree. Shadow Gamer's been getting better as time goes on too. Just like, because in the beginning, like with season 2 and season 3, I think he came around he did come around season 2. But basically Shadow had to deal with a lot of audio issues, right? Audio issues is the big theme of this competition. A lot of Gunsinkers fall into that trap where they focus too much on effects and don't focus too much on the audio. But each and every year, Shadow's been getting better and better and better with the audio balancing. So, huge props to Shadow. This is huge for Shadow. I have to say, this is absolutely huge. Huge. And that's pretty much it. So,
Oh my god.
PGS, you got any words that you want to say about Shadow Sync?
That's a funny meme.
That's appropriate this time.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we have to...
if it was my sync, oh my god, I would have been banned from the competition.
quote unquote banned. So.
Also, I don't really like to spray that much on Advanced Warfare. I feel like it's the sounds and the guns are not really that much to be used in a spray that much. Just me.
All right, so with that, Shadow Gamer, congratulations, you have secured a finale slot. And joining him into the finale, finishing with a 77.55 points. This is a huge upset in Group B, considering all the guys that could have potentially made it. We have Aquarius Gaming. And
Oh!
wow.
Slap me, daddy. Wait.
Oh yeah, and just in time, Gravity Well has joined us, so Gravity may say a word or two for this video, but in the meantime, moving on to Aquarius' sync as a whole.
Happened?
We're doing a video, Gravity. You're in the video.
You're in the results.
We're doing a results video, so.
Family friendly results video.
so.
Hell yeah. Family friendly.
So yeah, moving on to Aquarius'
Family friendly about this group.
Yeah, well, way
No
to
need to
spoil
expose
it.
us like that.
Shut up, Gravity.
All right, so moving on to Aquarius' video itself, I have to say, Aquarius' sync was top notch, just textbook, all the way through.
Absolute banger.
Yeah, I was really
Favorite
surprised.
from the competition, hands down. No, wait. No, I was listening to this in my car.
Really?
It was
Really?
that much of a banger.
Jesus.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You have
Yeah,
a problem.
My favorite part from this, and usually I'm not really big with, I'm not really as knowledgeable on Overwatch. And
Yeah, you're on big.
like, compared to like Nerdbox and some other syncers, but the Overwatch part for this sync was phenomenal. Just the sound choices were beautiful. Reminded me so much of Commando's sound choices that he had in round 1, but he stepped it up. And I have to say, Aquarius Gaming definitely stepped up his game for sure. He did his fucking homework. He kicked some major ass this fucking round. There's nothing more that I could say. Oh yeah, and also the kill syncs. I have to say, the kill syncs, not really choppy. It was really smooth, and the effects usage was really good. And I just love the transitions through the games that he had. Just this sync was just flawless. And honestly, he could challenge for the victory here. This guy, if he could do exactly what he just did this round, if not, and also I'd say a little bit like make it even better than this round. If Aquarius Gaming could make that one extra step, he could win this competition. So, Nerdbox, give us our tactical feedback.
So
Roast him.
the mix was very good in the first section. It was slightly busy, but the levels are quite good. Some notes are late in the switch up in the chorus of the first song. I felt that the Overwatch color correction was a tad bit smudgy, and you lost a bit of definition in the frame here and there. The mix in the Overwatch section was also a tad haphazard. There's a bit of clipping distortion in places. The effects for the most part flow well and add accent to notes that need it. The Advanced Warfare section seems to lack the pizzazz of the previous sections, but is executed very well. The sync starts very strong and then lowers in quality compared with the first section.
Well, I have nothing to praise for this. I think your transitions within the Overwatch part were very good. I think that your beginning part was the best, was one of the best, and you ended very strongly. And this is probably easily one of my favorite things in the entire competition. I would argue better than Jabber's. Better than Jabber's entry. Yeah.
Really? You think so?
I
You really
think so. I like the sync that much. Super
Wow.
high score for me. And as a personal note for me, hit me up for a possible collab in the future.
Wow.
I would be interested in collaborating with you, Aquarius. Hit me
Hey,
up.
right on video, right on video. Look at that. Hey,
There we go.
boy, invite right on video. No, for real, this guy's really underrated though. He definitely deserves.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of him coming into the competition, and he kind
Yeah.
of blew my face off.
Yeah, me neither, man. But that's what this competition does. It really brings out the best of people. So, congratulations to you, Aquarius. You definitely gotten the attention from a lot of the elites in the gun sticking sport, I'd say. So, PGS, you got any other words?
I'd like to add I'm formally retired.
A huge fucking surprise, also to me. And yeah, keep doing memes.
Keep doing memes.
Keep doing
yeah, there you go. Wise
Don't
words.
let your memes be dreams. Make your dreams the memes.
Hey.
Alright, for that, Nervox, I'm putting you in the disciplinary. Fuck you.
All right, so with that, from group number 2, we have Aquarius Gaming and Shadow Gamer moving on, which I have to say, well done from those two.
Proud of you, Aquarius. New favorite.
Good shit. So now going from we're moving on to group 3. We're halfway done with this results video. So with group 3, we have Turtle, Hoy RT, Daobao, Shark, Mr. Kelmeister, and Tovernyok. And I have to say, group 3 was a lot more competitive than I thought it would be.
Hard group.
This was one of the harder groups for sure. This was the hardest group, I think, in particular. The lowest score that was in this group was a 52-21. And the highest was an 81. But we'll get to that in a minute. But with that, 6th place with a total of 52-21, as I said already. So there you go. But finishing in 6th place, we do have Shark. And Shark coming in, once again, getting eliminated in the 2nd round. And I have to say, considering the limits that this song really has, because like I feel like that the problem is this song just has so many limits. For this type of like song or this sync, you would have to do multiple songs. Like this song is more so like a support song that you would see in a multi-COD gun sync or a multi-game gun sync and stuff like that. But I have to say, all things considered, Shark really brought out the most potential that he possibly could have in this particular song. So I honestly got nothing to complain about with this sync other than that it was a little bit repetitive, but outside of it being a little bit repetitive, it was still a strong sync.
For Shark Sync, I felt that the mix was good. The CC was very strong, but it's not offensive to the eyes at all. The effects are minimal, but they do work well. Generally, the sync is very repetitive, and it doesn't yield itself to a high level of technical depth. What also compounds this issue is the sync is quite short.
Alright, I don't know. I did like your color correction throughout the sync. I think that's cool contrasting shade of blue in the sky and a little bit of, I don't know, I'm colorblind, but that looks great in the bottom right.
You see that shit on like a postcard, like dead ass, man.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, And I liked your sprays to a certain extent, but yeah, I feel like this was a little too simple. So you definitely, I think the song at some aspects held you back, so.
And PGS, do you have anything to say about this sync?
Have you even eaten sushi? I like sushi.
Are you asking Shark that, or are you asking everybody else here?
Everybody is and Shark.
Well, I guess I'll have to wait for Shark to respond to comments about that.
Oh yeah, I just like to bear in mind, in Group 3, Shark, don't feel too bad. Everyone in Group 3 on my scoreboard got over 70 points, so.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. Very hard group in Group 3. You still did a good job.
Yeah, no, Shark had a very strong...
I haven't even uploaded on a fucking month, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, if Shark was placed in another group, he would have easily been able to have a better chance at moving on. But just his group was so competitive. So, huge props from Shark. I mean, huge shout out to him. He's another sinker that's really underrated too. That deserves more as well. He's really good sinker that keeps getting better each and every year. And with that, we're gonna move on to 5th place. In 5th place with a grand total of 58.49 points. We have Daobao 13. And I have to say, Daobao's sync was also really good. And I really like the weapon choices that he had, especially the intro for sure. His intro choices are really nice. Like, I love the M1 Garand reloads. I think that's an M1 Garand.
The pink.
It was really cool. That was definitely really cool usage of that. And most people don't really, like, this is definitely an old school tactic. I've seen this in World at War sync so much, but to see it really come back in Advanced Warfare, that was a cool touch. I love that. It was amazing. And I'd say, though, the only kind of, like, weak part of this sync for me was when he got to the Battlefield kill sync. And it was mostly because weapon sounds were unbalanced, I'd say, for the kill sync portion of the sync. And that's really the only complaint I really have. The rest of the sync, really smooth, really solid, and nice CC usage. Nerdbox?
This sync, I felt that the switch up on the first drop was very off-putting. The mix was initially quite low. The Modern Warfare 3 section fixes this. It's only slightly low there. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was. The CC I felt was a tad unrefined in places. The Battlefield 4 like in-game section was really good when you were actually combining gameplay. I really enjoyed that. This has actually got one of the highest personal subjective scores. I really quite enjoyed this.
What, the kill sync?
The whole sync in general actually is one of the highest personal subjective scores I achieved.
Really?
The sync overall is very clean, aside from the Twixtor artifacting. The sync, the only drawback with it is it suffers from the problem that none of the songs are really that technically deep.
I do have to agree with Alex. I also gave this a pretty high subjective score on myself. It wasn't lacking in much. I also very much enjoyed the M1 Grand, and I'd like to emphasize a point to everyone else competing in the competition. He pitch corrected his M1 Grand reloads correctly, which means it's in the same key as the song itself. So for God's sake, take note of this man. He did something correct that everyone else tries to do but fails.
I wouldn't say fails. Most people get close, and it's just
They just missed the mark. They missed the mark.
not
Just
quite.
Well,
Not quite.
pitch correcting is the kind of thing where you have to hit the mark or else it doesn't sound that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the M1 Garand part was fantastic though. Like it's that old school tactic coming back. I love these old school tactics coming back for these type of syncs, for these modern generation sinkers, and we say modern as in not 3-4 years ago, but like
Kids these days.
Kids these days, exactly. But like seeing those old school tactics coming back for us, like older generation sinkers or retired sinkers, according to Nerdbox, I'd say. It's cool to see it. It's awesome. I love it. It's different. It's getting that creativity of that old school technical play coming back into the fold. And by the way, the fact that he was able to get that big ass multi-kill in Battlefield, like how could he get an opportunity like that? He just a bunch of guys just sitting on a mountain and he just sprays them all down. Like how do they not see him come up? Just as a that's just a little bonus note I had. That's when he did the kill.
Private lobby, but.
Nah, Battlefield doesn't have private lobbies.
That's true. That not dissing his gameplay, but just fuck. You got how the hell did he get that many guys there? That's just crazy. But that'll be fine.
All right. So I'm like recording now, so you can start whenever.
I thought Escape was recording.
No, I'm recording for some reason. Because Escape's a lazy ass.
I'm not lazy. I'm not the fucking host. So I'm not responsible for recording it if I'm not the host, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your channel.
It's his comp.
It's his channel.
It's your comp.
It's his channel.
But Jade,
You're the one
your
organising
boy.
everything. You're recording.
Oh, fine.
To
Alright.
America,
So
wants to outsource
insist.
the work to someone else.
I don't get paid enough for this.
You don't get paid at all.
Exactly.
fucking-
I don't get
you
paid
got-
enough. And where are my
you got-
$25?
Did you get your $25?
I
thought
never
you
got my $25 for
Wait,
winning
why
last
do you owe
year.
Jay $25?
Winner gets $25.
and a shout out on Game Nuts channel. Well, you got the shout out at least.
I want my money.
You still haven't held up your end of the bargain.
Yeah,
Give
no,
me
I
your
gotta,
lunch money.
I gotta give
Be
my
gone.
lunch.
Give me your lunch money, punk.
This is all going on the fucking. Actually, no, can you cut the non-payment part yet? Or could you cut that out, Jaden?
What do you mean cut
Leave
it
it in.
out?
I don't want everybody to know.
I'm
that you're
recording all of
good for
this.
your word.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he's just going to cut out all the shit, isn't he?
Yeah, true. Okay.
Am I?
Anyways, moving on.
Am I though?
All right, let's get on.
You better fucking not, Jaden. All right. Anyways. So finishing in 4th place with a grand total of 62.33 points, we have Toverniak with the Ramses B Prometheus sync, and I believe he also he did some Battlefield, Advanced Warfare, and Toverniak took the similar approach as he did to the last time, right? But what he did this time was, the song choice was definitely the change of pace compared to his last song, where he used the Fat Rat. He used the Fat Rat. I forget the song name, but it was something from the Fat Rat he used. But then he changed, just a change of pace, and the sync itself was quite cool. I mean, this sync in general is just I really love the sound choices that he had with this game. Even though it wasn't the fastest sync out there, it was consistent. The sound choices were great. CC was really cool as well, and just overall cool sync, and definitely one of those syncs that I look back on. It just sounds cool, and the song choice is amazing.
Top level commentary here.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Nerdbox.
Okay, with this one, I felt that the CC is a tad washed out. The CC makes a lot of the frame lose like definition because you've stripped out everything but like the purple CC. It just feels a bit, or like the frame has been ripped apart. The typography that you use, it looks unpolished. But the movement is good and the theme is good. The way it's presented is good, but the actual typography itself looks unpolished and a bit crude. The mix is good. It peaks in places, but it's not too bad. Typography does have a typo in it, which you missed. But overall, very clean sync and very well executed.
Well, good concept for the video. I like the direction it was going, but honestly, it's just a percussion loop. If you want to take this route of adding more guns onto the screen, you want to make it more complex more quickly. There are other people making crazy drops while you're just doing 4 loops on the screen at once. I think it was probably the song that held you down since there was no parts where you could truly shine, but you also could have done more with the visuals. I would have liked to see those other gun screens possibly moving, not necessarily in a box or a sphere or any of that, but just around the screen. A little S-shake could have probably helped make this one a little more dynamic, maybe add some shadows onto those textures and that. And yeah, one more thing, the break could have used cinematics. The fact that you're just using slowing down reload clips it's just lazy.
You know, I agree. And just the overall uniqueness of this sync was definitely one that separated him from the rest. And a lot of syncers have a lot of trouble with when they add so much on the screen, right? And then every layer that you use to make another small box for another small part of the sync, it's adding more audio to it, and it obviously risks the audio being really messy, really choppy, and really shitty. But Tovernock is one of the few syncers that can actually make it sound really clean and smooth and just precise all the way through. And that's what I love about Tovernock's audio mastering. It's just fantastic. So with that, PGS, you got anything to say for comic relief or just in general?
Russians are pretty fucking good on doing things. We have Jerail, PS Box 1, Tovernock. I also like Soda.
Who was that last one?
I like Soda.
Oh, Soda.
Fucking
Oh, okay. And your mic decided to shit yourself at the worst moment. And Gravity, you got anything to add?
I mean, the sync was solid across the board, but the issue that I took with it was the fact that it reminded me, in a sense, it's not anywhere near as egregious, but it reminded me of Turtles Round 1 sync from last year, where it was just really simplistic and it just dragged on for a really long time. It's not... It's because of the fact that the song is so laid back that there's no real build-up or peaks in it. So having it last for so long and just be so samey can get really grating over time.
It makes a lot of sense to Gravity. And ladies and gentlemen, Gravity Well. Yay. Okay. So with that, we're gonna move on to the guy who finished 3rd place, and the guy was in that heartbreak position once again, and finishing. And this is the only guy, keep this in mind, who actually scored like a dead even score. Like there's no decimals, so it's like just nice and easy and smooth to say. So finishing in 3rd place with a total of 63 points, 63 flat, which that is pretty impressive. we do have Mr. Kelmeister, who actually did the song that Dalbow did in round number 1. He actually wanted to do his song.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. No, that's exactly what happened. But in particular, though, with this sync, like just in general, first of all, I wanted to mention that COD 4 pack that he used there in the zoom-ins. Like there would just be these random zoom-ins. I've never seen that that pack being used before, which is definitely interesting. A new change in pace, but it's not really the main point that I'm really wanting to talk about, though. But just the sync as a whole, considering it's mostly Rainbow Six Siege, or at least the good first half of it, right? It's really hard for syncers to really use Rainbow Six very effectively, especially when it comes to the sprays. But Mr. Kelmeister nailed the sprays, especially in that intro, and just everything just sounded really smooth. And then when it came down to the drop, it was very well executed, and it was just a very good transition. Also, the Kazoo man, or the Kazoo kid, makes yet another appearance in KOS. So quite a nice touch there. So very nice, Mr. Kelmeister.
In terms of this one, I felt that the clips used in the intro were reasonably out of place. However, this is offset by the fact that the pitch matching is absolutely exceptional in the intro. The mix is good in places, it's okay in others. Good meme. The sync is a tad short. The effects that you used are simple but work well.
Mr. Kelmeister, you didn't follow a theme. In terms of color, for the pack itself, you should either stick with a hot color like reds and yellows, or a cool color dynamic like blues and greens for the song. I don't know what you were going for the overall emotion of the song, but it was definitely conflicting them two. The Black Ops part as well as the, I believe the Battlefield part. And I really wanted to like the sync because the composition was ultimately done really well, but it was just lackluster in the visual aspects. You didn't put any special visual effects, there's no big color correction. I don't know if you put any color correction at all, but I like the Metal Guns and Hands pack, and I believe that you should use that more often, but the problem is it just didn't fit in with the dynamics of the sync. I noticed that your corner screens were done sloppily because of the room on the corners, and if you got that problem, it's just a simple enable snapping on cropping. This could be an easy problem that could be resolved with a couple of clicks, so just you not fixing that shows laziness. So for the Kazoo kid, honestly just use the Kazoo. I did not like your use of the kid because I don't think it fit in, and just please use the actual Kazoo itself. Just to wrap up, there were additionally several skipped frames, and there were missed notes that you clearly glanced over.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention too, at the 146, 147 marker, if you pause it, it looks like the map raid, but like it looks like the map is like incomplete and empty. I'm not sure if that was a mod that you used there, but that was actually really cool. It was a really nice little touch there that you added. I'm not sure if that's Black Ops 1 zombies or I don't know what that is, because I saw the FAMAS in there and just a couple other weapons from Black Ops 2, and I was just like, it's a really interesting game. So Kelmeister, feel free to respond in the comments or something to that comment or to whatever there, and I mean, I know I totally failed that, Gravity. I know.
Professional.
I completely botched it, but yeah, Kelmeister, respond to me about what game that is. Or
Notice me, senpai.
Notice me.
Alright, that's it. I think it's time to move on, unless PG actually got some words of wisdom that you want to provide us.
Audio is a bitch, but being consistent is way more.
Great wording, PGS.
Amazing.
You're even better than me.
Hell yeah.
He honestly is.
Wow. Okay, Grab.
Objection against that.
Okay, whatever. All right, moving on. We're gonna move
Before
on.
we move on, can I just say, like, it would make my life if somebody would try to do like a B-movie sync with Siege, because all of the sounds just turn into buzzy when you speed them up.
That would honestly be really cool to see, though. But,
Don't actually do that, that would be cancer.
I'm tempted to do that just to piss you off.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
All right. Time to move on to the two gentlemen that have finished second and first. And these two will be moving on from group number 3 into the finale. So finishing in second place with a total of 70.33 points. It is Hoy RT. And this guy came in to actually replace Tobsy. So he is going to be moving on to the finale with the sync that he had. And I have to say, amazing use of the effects. And considering that Hoy was on a time crunch, just fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic. Great time management skills for sure. I could never do a sync like this if it were if I were put in that same position. Or at least I would.
I mean, you're gonna lose to me, so yeah.
And just the transitions throughout all of the throughout the entirety of the sync was really nice. And it kind of reminded me a lot of like Keen Falcon's syncs a little bit, like kind of like the crazy use of the effects and just the constant transition between games and stuff. But it was just awesome. Nerdbox, you got anything to say about this?
My feeling on this was kind of against the curve of the judges, really. I felt that the intro text that you used was unreadably fast. I know it was just supposed to be like an introduction, and it wasn't really saying anything particular, but it was too fast to read. The mix is high in the drop, low beforehand. There's clipping distortion throughout, which irked me. The song transitions, the actual transition of the song as opposed to the graphical transition could have been far better. The sync overall is quite short. Some of the notes that you used didn't have enough sustain or fill the sound design of the song completely.
I see. Well, I would have to say that this is a very Jabber Turtle-esque kind of sync. Clearly inspired by him, by the kinds of effects you use, the fact that you use many different games in this gun sync.
The quick transitions.
Yeah, and on top of that, the multiple guns on the top screen. I can tell that is also a Jabber kind of style that you try to emulate. I think you actually did it pretty well, because I did enjoy the fact there was always something going on. The effects might have been a little bit excessive, but I didn't see that as a problem. I thought that just made the sync a little more exciting. I don't know, this was a personal favorite for mine, and you also get the collab invitation.
With that, we're moving on to first place in group number 3 with a total of 81.99 points and the top scoring sync from round number 2. We have Turtle. And personally, I was surprised. I was surprised that he ended up like this high in scoring, like not necessarily in the rankings, but more so just the scoring. Considering how, like in my personal opinion, there was a little bit of missed potential in the beginning, which is kind of what, like if I were a judge, I kind of would have not punished him for it, but I wouldn't have given him as high of a score as maybe everybody else would. But reloads clean as hell. Did he use Twixer for that? I wonder if that must be Twixer. That's got to be like just. It was so smooth, like.
What the whole stop-start thing at the start?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously Twixter. If you pay close attention to particularly things like fingers, yeah, the distortion is very, very Twixtery.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking at there, like based off the hand movements. But just, honestly, just the sync itself, like the drop was really nice. Like once it got to the drop, though, like. It was a slow start, but like once the drop came, it came fast, it came furious. The weapons choices were really good. Very good Tempest usage, very good bow and arrow usage, very good, just everything. Like just, and also, once again, we're coming back with the Jaden Spear. I would say maybe try to get a little bit more creative with the effects here and there. I mean, he did show some effort in some other effects that he added in with kind of the side-by-side assembly line, the up and down assembly line. That was a pretty nice touch there. And adjusting the speed of the Jaden Spear and also breaking the Jaden Spear at a certain point. That was actually really
creativity.
Cool. Yeah, that was quite nice. Like he actually like broke the spear, which is cool. So Nerdbox, what do you got on this thing?
Well, to preface my opinion, it was very obvious that the sync was going to score very, very highly. Very good use of Twixtor off the bat. The whole stop-start motif was very well executed. The typography is good, but some word appearances are out of time, often early. The way you want to do typography is you want to have read the word at the same time as you hear the first prominent syllable in the word. That's how you should line that up. If you go watch one of my syncs, particularly Emoji or what was the other one? Turkey Machine. Okay, that's how you should set up your typography timings. The build-up at 45 seconds could have used with some more content. It remains quite stationary relative to the rest of the sync. Some typography here with the vocal chops and the like would have been very, very good. The effects flow exceptionally well, as they always do. The mix, for the most part, is good. Some bits peak exceptionally high. The sync is a tad short. That's my major complaint of this. That the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
Very nice quote. Yeah, all has been said. I just like your Minecraft trapdoor.
That's it?
What? No, Nerdbox has literally said everything I wanted to say. Like, his mix was good, the effects were good, the balancing was good. I also agree with his typography reference, so yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Gravity and PBS. Anything else that you want to add? So with that, we do have our Group 3 representatives, which are going to be Turtle and Hoy RT, who are going to be moving on to the finale. So huge congrats for them, and best of luck to the finale for those guys. And with that, we're down to our final group, group number 4. We have High Hum, Magnificent Quality, Huzel Puzel, Kelvin PC, Joni What, and Cutis, representing Group 4. So finishing in 6th place in Group 4 with a total of 27.04 points. We have Cutis. And I don't know, just this sync, just personally the choices that Cutis really made for a relatively short sync, and just, I don't know, just, I'd say audio quality was definitely kind of meh, and just there's a lot of disabled resample as well, and when it comes to the slower clips, and I like the effects that he was trying to use, like the back and forth, the back and forth, the small squares, the back and forth stuff. But like when it hit the drop, it was just, atrocious. At least my opinion. But Nerdbox.
The points I made on this was the shotgun that you were using initially is cut off very harshly. Use like a very small fade on the end just to soften up the end of the clip so it doesn't just kind of stop in the middle. The mix is. Carry on.
Some of these traits that I have seen between the Vietnamese singers and mostly in the part of Asia is that they like to do that. They like to just fade the entire clip, and it sometimes just sounds a little too quiet.
Harsh.
Yeah. I don't know. Carry on.
The mix is tad low in the drop. It also has some peaking here and there. My major complaint is the sync was very short, but what was there was decent.
Yeah, I also want to mention too, just I'd say lack of variety. Like for me, the big thing that really stands out, not necessarily just from an audio bouncing standpoint, like the audio bouncing standpoint would be one of the things I would criticize on for sure, in case you were confused, Cutis. But also the matter is that not really a lot of variety. Didn't really try to change things up. It was just kind of, same basic sync, just very basic. Try something different,
What specifically triggered me about this sync was the intro. You have a 30-second percussion loop, and what triggers me is that there was so much potential in this beginner loop. You see, I don't like to watch gun syncs that are merely covers. I like to watch gun syncs which actually add on to the song. So you could have added so many reload beats, so many different guns, there was like so much potential in the beginning, but like no, I think you just took the easy way out. It could have just been a lack of time, but yeah, you did not put too much thought into the introduction. How do I describe it? The corner spots during the build-up, like the shotguns on the corners which go to left and right. I thought that was a nice touch, didn't add too much, but whatever, what can you do? Color correction was alright, and overall, I thought the sync was mediocre for round 2. So yeah.
Alright, so with that, we're moving on to 5th place. Finishing in 5th place with a total of 30.88 points, we have Joni What. And I have to say, I'm not sure if he was trying to go with a similar style to what Jarail was doing, kind of like the mashup and stuff. At least I'm not really sure if that's exactly what his goal was in the beginning. It made it like his sync really felt like it. But aside from that, right, I don't know, just the main complaint I really have with this was not really the effects that he used or necessarily the sync itself, but more so the choices that he made, where to put certain like weapons and certain parts of the song. Because you notice that when the 140 marker, especially like when you get to Titans, because a lot of the syncers, especially in the old school, some of the old school syncers, they remember the song Titans, right? It used to be a very popular song back in the day. When you're syncing Titans, everyone wants to hear at least part of the drop and stuff like that. But like when you fast forward straight to the end and stuff like that, just sync the end, it kind of just makes it disappointing ending, it's just really disappointing for where the rest of the and that's just not with this song. It's just with a lot of the other songs out there. I really feel like the only part of the sync that I really particularly enjoyed was when he did the 4-corner method, the old school Jaden style, which is this is what you used to do originally, Jaden.
Yeah.
But basically when he did Control Alt Destruction, I think that was the song that he used there. But I really like what he did with that. But other than that, it's just very weak choices on different parts of the song to sync. And I would say, he should pick different. You should try to pick like more drops, more intense buildups, or more just better choices overall. Nerdbox?
This thing kind of irked me slightly. The song transitions were incredibly jarring. Like, it completely breaks the flow. Completely. The mix is low throughout. Some clips are prepared poorly with silence before the actual gunshot audio, and that causes some slight stutter before clips, which is quite irritating to listen to. One thing, the major thing that you neglected was in the trap section where you were using the grenade launcher. It completely ignores the pitch changes in the song. It's not synced to pitch at all. And to round it off, I felt the final section was kind of a bit basic. It kind of burnt out. I think like you kind of burnt out and then kind of just finished that up to end it. But overall, I felt that the thing was quite short, which didn't help matters.
I'm just gonna focus and criticize on one aspect of the sync, which was the four corners method. The purpose of a 4 corners method is to ensure that there's like you can spot like how each gun clip on each screen is actually contributing something to the sync itself. And what I can see from your 4 corners method is that you just took this all could have honestly been compressed into 2 screens. Honestly, like you didn't need to put 4 corners. Like I want to see something going on each corner of the screen so that each one is constantly contributing something to the song, right? I don't want it to be like too simple. I don't want like one screen to shoot and the other screen to shoot. I want something going on in all 4 corners. So it was a good style choice, but that's what the purpose of a 4 corners is, I believe. But overall, yeah, that effect was too slow and it was lackluster in a bunch of other aspects. I think Alex covered most of it, but yeah.
All right, so with that, we're going to be moving on to 4th place. So finishing in 4th place with a total of 47.83 points, we have Kelvin PC bringing in Fire in the Hole, which is definitely one of my favorite songs. And although for real though, Nerdbox did this song the best. There's no questions asked on that. No questions asked. But moving on to this sync, it just felt like it was an average sync, to be honest with you. Nothing really like out of like nothing really above and beyond what
Outstanding.
like outstanding, but it was a solid sink in my opinion. But I just think that it was just average. It's just in this competition, average is not good enough. You got to go outside the nerd box. You know, you got to literally go outside the nerd box. So that's really my only complaint that I got. Nerd box.
Well, I'll reiterate what Escape said, that this is a favourite song of mine, and I quite enjoyed this. The mix is a bit haphazard in places. The effects are also a tad crude. You could work on how you produce effects and how to make them look polished and professional. There is some clipping in places, and the sync is very short. But overall, what you've produced is very solid and very well produced. It's just unfortunate that being a competition, you are up against the best, and unfortunately average doesn't quite cut it.
I think a big part of the biases comes from the fact that this is a very commonly synced song. So like everyone who's in this competition has seen the song synced at least like 3 to 4 times in their career. And honestly, we've seen the song synced better in other aspects, but you just didn't add anything creative to it. So big reason of why you didn't move on, because you didn't add your own little spin on things. It's just like an inherent bias that we can't really control, comparing it to others, because there'll always be human error. But like, just make sure that you try to add something that is your own. I just like to emphasize that point from Nerdbox.
BGS, you got anything to add?
No, just the same as before. Try to think outside the nerd box.
Okay, well then I guess we'll move on to the next sync. All right, so finishing in 3rd place in Group 4 with a total of 54.61 points, we have Huzel Puzel, who is gonna unfortunately miss the cut, and a little bit unfortunate, just because for the most part I really enjoyed this sync, and just the beginning. I love what Huzel does really well on is the fact that his sound choices, for the most part, in terms of the beginning of the syncs, like every time he starts a sync, right, he always brings in. I'm not sure if it's just the songs that he chooses or something, or just his choice. His gun choices are fantastic for 9 times out of 10, and just the grenade launcher usage from Battlefield. That was we don't really see that too often. Battlefield 1, we don't really see that utilized as much, and it's obviously it's quite nice that he was able to utilize that quite well. And last round he definitely did that with the I think that it was the Hanzo from Overwatch. But for the duration of the rest of the sync, I mean, it was pretty good, and I really loved the effects that he used, and even the Windows part that moved, all the window errors that popped up. I thought that was quite a nice little touch there as well, which is pretty cool. And although I'm gonna say, I think the big reason why you're not really moving on, Huzel, is I feel like you fell into the trap of you focused way too much on effects instead of the audio, where the sprays in particular, there wasn't really any distinctive spray sounds. Unlike your last sync, the last sync had a lot more distinctive spray sounds compared to this time around. And this time around, just the spray sounds were really blank and bland. I mean, this is just coming from what I'm seeing. I'm not sure how the rest of the judges feel necessarily about this, but I will say, really nice use of the Jaden Spear. Very nice usage of a lot of different cool effects, especially the cylinder. There's a new effect that he really tried out. It's called the, I believe it is, it's some cylinder, and then like
I saw that. That was really cool.
He then turned the cylinder like it was a scope, and I was like, wow, that is beautiful.
Very cool. I wouldn't have thought of that.
And then the use of his boxing gloves, once again, just awesome. He's really good at that. So, Nerdbox, what do you got?
So straight off the bat, there was a very cool use of the pitch shifting with the Battlefield 1, which has been mentioned. The screen split effect you did was very clean. I've actually got written in my notes here, J.exe engaged for the next part. There's a bike outside. I like the use of the error messages, but it seemed a bit disjointed from kind of the point of the sync. To reiterate what Escape said, that the sprays you used weren't really clear between each one and kind of blurred into one wall of noise. The way to fix this is use fades at the end of clips to add a very slight auditory break. It's enough to trick your brain into thinking that there's actually a proper break there, and then your brain locks onto the new sound rather than it just going up and down and kind of merging into one. Pardon me. Some more aggressive sound design could have been used in the drops other than just using the sprays. Because of this, the mix seems to have a lot of headroom, which really isn't filled by the sound you're using. So I'd work on using some more aggressive sound design for the synths, combining different guns, fading them into each other. Like if you go look back at the sync I did, OK by Tokyo Machine, and some of the like technical aspects in that, where I'm rewinding clips into each other, I'm combining sounds of different guns and fading them into each other to get the sound I want. Really focus on that.
I completely agree with that, but I do have one question. Why do your sprays sound so weird compared to the other sprays?
That's what we were commenting about the whole time around, Jay.
Yeah, my brain would be on the resampling mode he's used.
It's weird. Honestly, it's weird. But like, one thing that disappointed me about the sync is like your Windows error messages, and compared to your Battlefield pitch shifting, you clearly had the ability to pitch shift, and your Battlefield 1 part, although it wasn't perfect, it was somewhere on the mark. So you kind of know what you're doing, but it wasn't quite perfect. I was wondering, why didn't you pitch shift the Windows error messages? Like, that could have added so much more to your sync, honestly, to that. But yeah, your visuals, I think your visuals were very creative. I really enjoyed them. You didn't add that much color correction or other effects. I think you should have probably added a little bit more variety in your transitions and your color correction, which could have probably like set you apart, but like you didn't, because you were focusing way too much on like replicating my style. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but yeah, you could have added a little more spice onto it.
All right, so PGS, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, can Jason stop sucking everyone's? No, not really. The pitch, it's, well, at least for me, it's something that I'm currently just starting to experiment on, but it's the way that you did it, it was for me perfect. The Windows error messages just fucking got me laughing. Yeah, overall, great job.
Finishing in second place, and the first sinker from Group 4 to be moving on to the next round. We do have High Hum finishing off at a 59.84. I'll be honest with you, this sync was one of my favorites in the competition so far as well, and not necessarily because of I don't want to say it was simpler compared to his last one, but it was solid, smooth, but just the really fast sprays and just the usage of... I've never seen Black Ops 3 used in such an amazing way before. I thought that, by far, this is one of my favorite Black Ops 3 syncs I've ever seen, in all honesty. And that's... maybe that's personal bias coming into play, but just... It just sounded really good, and it flowed really good. And Tempest usage was on point. Spray usage on point. Throwing usage... guessed it, on point. And his usage of just so many different weapons and a nice variety of weapons that flowed well and it sounded good. It was amazing. And honestly, he doesn't deserve to be at 59 points. He should be at like 60 or 70 at least. Like, he deserves way more points than where he added up. At least this is my opinion on this. But Nerdbox, what do you how about the tactical depth of this guy? What do you think?
Just to clarify, this is High Ham, correct? I was distracted because I had an important thing I needed to attend to.
It is High Hum. It's Hum, not Ham.
Oh, sorry, I'm anglicising it. Okay, so the first note I've got in my comments is nanny in all caps. But in terms of the actual sync, the intro, it could have been more in depth. It could have had more to it than was there. The mix was low. The Advanced Warfare section fixes this and picks up the mix that was required. It also picks up the required technical depth. Overall, a very solid sync. The only minor gripe I've got is when you use the chromatic aberration. It was a tad strong, It's a pet peeve of mine when people like put a crap ton of chromatic aberration on something without really, well, I wouldn't say think about it, but it seems tacky and just makes everything messier than it needed to be.
Hi Hum, I'm just going to keep this brief for a moment. I thought that in a technical standpoint, I thought everything was flawless, that you didn't like miss too many parts of it. I thought the mix was good, I thought the balancing was good, and the gun choices were terrific. It's just that, in my subjective opinion, I didn't like the song that much, so yeah, this is purely down to subjective opinion, but yeah, I didn't give you too much points on subjectiveness, but yeah, you were perfect across the board otherwise, so.
We have to admit though that the song itself was definitely not what everybody else was choosing. It's unique,
I can respect,
right?
I can respect. It was a challenging song, so that's why he did get extra points for technicalities from me.
Amen to that. So with that, now we're gonna be finalizing this up and announcing who's our first place winner from Group 4. So finishing off with 63.23 points, we have Magnificent Quality. And it was a pretty good solid sync from Magnificent Quality. Personally, I thought that, like, from a subjective standpoint, I thought Hi Hum had a much smoother sync than Magnificent Quality, but Magnificent Quality got the job done. And it was pretty smooth throughout. Pretty good usage of Advanced Warfare, and Magnificent Quality is one of the few individuals that knows how to use the Advanced Warfare sprays correctly and stuff, but also I have to highlight his Battlefield part of the sync was probably my favorite part. Just the build-up was it was fast, it was furious, it was accurate, and
there's a reason why I used that song as the KOS announcement. It's a banger.
It is a banger, and I would say though that compared to the first round sync, it was definitely better, but it was just like, because it sounded like at the end, right? Where, I mean, I'm not sure if this is the song or not, but it sounded like just all the sprays and everything. Like it didn't even sound like it was synced up to the song. I mean, I'm not really sure if, like I said, I didn't really. I don't know if it was just the song itself, but just like it sounded like a conglomerate mashup of weapons. So I'd say work on the smoothness of the sync, Magnificent Quality, and then you're basically right there.
This sync really let me down. It scored, well, personally I scored it quite highly on a few categories, but then two others were quite low. It's the mix. It's the mix in this sync that really lets it down. The clipping is rife. The clipping is rife. Overall, the sync was like, it was a very strong start. The reload sequence was exceptional. I was really hoping that when it went to the drop, it was just a massive improvement on the first section. The first section was exceptional, but the mix ruins it. Like, literally, the first section, like, in my brain, I was going, okay, this is nines. And then when the Advanced Warfare section came in, like, couldn't score two of the categories much higher than 4, 5.
All right, for me, Magnificent Quality. I don't know how you did, but somehow without any visual effects, any CC, any of that, you still managed to pull up in first place. But I can agree that you did deserve to be in first place because your audio was absolutely flawless. There were no technical details that I can see were wrong with it. The songs you chose were very good. I could actually enjoy your EM1 usage. You know, I hate that song. I hate that gun with a passion, but the way you do it just entrances me to enjoy it. So, very good job. I'd like to see some visual effects in the next round just to boost up your score and just have me blown out of the water. But otherwise, very nice job.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention, another thing. Like, I mean, this is just my subjective opinion. I mean, you don't have to take the advice necessarily, but I'd say there's a certain lot of weapons that were, I mean, it was good variety, but there was certain other weapons that were just overused. I'd say the tac shotgun. I'm not sure if you really see. I've seen that gun used a whole lot in this particular sync. Although I definitely do see that he definitely tried to implement other shotguns, other weapons like the blunderbuss. So I'm not really going to criticize you too hard for overusing the tac in this particular sync, because I could definitely see that Magnificent Quality tried to use other shotguns to mix up with other beats and stuff like that. But I would say refrain from overusing the tech for the next sync, if possible.
I would agree with that. Just if you can't figure out any other guns to substitute, then don't do that. But if you have a chance to put in a little bit of variety, make sure you follow that chance.
All right, so with that, we have our 10 official Gunsinkers that are going to be battling in the KOS Season 4 finale. I can't believe we're even at the finale already. This is
Crazy.
3 months ago, we began this competition, and we're down to our final 10. So, joining up with Jabber Turtle and Blue Leaf in the finale, we have Jarail, I'm Just a Gamer, Shadow Gamer, Aquarius Gaming, Turtle with the cute smiley face, Hoi RT, Hi Hum, and Magnificent Quality. I have to say, this is going to be a fantastic finale. I can already tell. This is going to be so much fun.
I mean,
can't
before
wait.
my bets were on Jabber, but like now after the sinks I've seen, it's close. Like I don't think it's a clear shot for anyone.
It's anybody's game right now. Like I'd say even some of those guys that snuck into that finale, like we've had a hell of a lot of surprises, such as Aquarius Game and I'm Just a Gamer. So they could come up huge in this finale. Some of these guys that are considered, I'd argue and say, the underdogs. So we'll just have to see what happens, Dr. Jaden. So with that, what are these bad boys do for the finale, Jaden?
Well, we intentionally made round 2 with a month to 4 weeks in order to make sure that you were good to sync on the fly. So even with an immense amount of pressure, you were able to sync. So now that's over. We want to see your best and absolute efforts going into the next round, which is why we are deciding to give you a month and a half to finish your next sync. So the deadline will be September 24th. That is how many Mondays? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Mondays. That's 7 Mondays, right?
Yeah,
7 Mondays from now.
That's a lot of time for these sinkers to establish their sinks and put an absolute banger on this last finale. We want to see the best of the best for this finale, so push yourselves to the limit.
Please do something creative. I want to see something crazy.
It's the last point 2 of the marathon. 26 miles. Last point 2. Push it all. Give it all you got, my
Push it. Final sprint. And as an added bonus, if this turns out not to be enough time for the majority of you, I am willing to make extensions by the mutual consent of all of you. So great job in that. So make sure that if you, in the rare event that you don't have enough time, because we see like August, September school begins to start, that make sure you contact me, and if a majority of sinkers agree that they need more time, then we are willing to make a few extensions to the deadline. So make sure you keep that in mind.
All right.
Any thoughts, Escape, before I move on to the updated scoring sheets?
Well, with that, round 2, it was super competitive, I have to say. These sinkers were given a lot of their energy and a lot of their time in this thing, so I wanted to take the time to say, thank you to all of the sinkers in round number 2 for sending in the submissions, and also even to the people that came in to replace those sinkers as well. So Hoi RT, Halfbeat, and as well as I'm Just a Gamer. We thank you guys for coming in to for the short notice that you guys had to complete your sinks. You guys still managed to do it, and you guys are absolutely awesome. But we want to thank everybody in this competition for participating and bringing this yearly event together. This is what brings Gunsinkers together, this very event. And this is truly the world's best competing. And I'm proud of every single sinker that managed to send a sink in this competition. And just thank you guys so much. And for the 10 guys in the finale, we wish you the best of luck. And I have to say, this finale is going to be super explosive. I'm going to say it right now. It's going to be one of the best finales we've seen. I'm calling it right now. This is going to be the best finale. I think so. All 10 of these guys have a great shot at winning this thing. And like I said, it's the last point 2, so it's time to sprint. It's time to give it everything you got.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you, Escape, for that. Okay, so for round 3, we are going to go back to the point-based system, similar to what you saw in round 1, except the scoring is going to be a little more detailed than round 2, because we were scoring in 5 specific categories. As you saw, we had note accuracy, gun choice, that's 1, mixing and mastering, that's 2, technical complexity and composition, that's 3, effects and theme, that's 4, and personal subjective score, that is 5. So for round 3, promise that there are going to be more categories for you to be judged upon. Possibly
more categories.
More categories. I want this to be as detailed as possible. Make sure that every judge is held accountable to the score they give. We're going to ensure that every judge leaves a comment for every single sync, somewhat detailed so you know what you did well, what you need to improve on, not just for yourself, but for everyone else who is watching this competition with us right now. And about the updated scoring system, I just like to re-emphasize again that although some of you may have received really low points, sometimes in the 20s, sometimes in the 10s, this does not actually reflect your skill. This is simply because of the updating scoring system. You see, if we were judging your syncs based on the Season 3, 2, and 1 scoring system, then you all would have easily cleared the top 50s, the top 60s. We could see that definitely happening. But so don't feel too discouraged about the low score that you received. Just be proud that you made it to this round, and thank you all for competing.
And I'd also like to say on behalf of the sinkers in round 1 as well, like, you know, we've seen some good sinks in round 1 as well, and I wanted to highlight that as well, the fact that, you know, I would say even the top 30, top 40 all submitted very good, solid sinks. I'd even say, you know, for those that just came and competed to have fun, you know, don't be discouraged by your low scores. Learn from the low scores. Take all the advice that you can bring in. This is the competition where you can learn how to be able to become a better sinker. This is the competition where you get the experience from the best sinkers in the world, and you can learn something from these guys. Like, look at Blue Leaf, for example. Blue Leaf was on the bottom of the leaderboard in Season 3. Look where he's at now. He has a chance to fight for a title now. And it just goes to show you that anything could happen. Anything could happen. And you guys, if you practice, you know, keep it going and do the best that you can to improve your sinks, each and every sink that you make. Nothing could go wrong. Honestly, nothing could go wrong. I'm going to be dead ass. Nothing could go wrong. And I think that you guys are just... You could be able to build more and more potential. And remember, this is a...
I'm sorry, you cut off there. What? Repeat that?
Well, don't be discouraged if your scores are low. Learn from the best of the best, and then you could become the best of the best.
Okay, so while we wrap up this video, I'm just going to give a piece of friendly advice, and Escape, if you'd like to give one, then you are free to do. So what I am specifically looking for is for something completely different and creative, similar to the creativity that Tobzy showed in his round 2 winning sync. Something similar to the fact that I thought outside of the box for my third round winning sync. We don't want to see the excessiveness of visual. I personally don't want to see the excessiveness of visuals to completely at the expense of audio quality, but I do want to see something completely creative. Escape, what do you have to say for these competitors?
Well, as I've said time and time again, this is the last point too. The pacing game is over now. It is time to push yourselves to put the best of the best and the best of the best ability that you got. And I have to say that Jaden's right. You gotta try to do something that nobody else would, you know? And it's like, you gotta, I have to say, Jaden's right. This is the last round of the KOS competition. 26 miles have been run in a marathon. It's down to the last 0.2. Now, you gotta sprint to the finish. You gotta find a way to edge ahead of your opponent. What do you do? What can you do that is different compared to everybody else while applying the traditional aspects of audio, while trying to adapt the traditional aspects of syncing? I'd say the greatest balance of traditional and something different, something new, is what's going to win you this competition. Give us something different. Give us something cool. Give us something that will blow everyone's mind off. Not necessarily just from an effect standpoint, but maybe with the audio, but just with everything. Because everything's come down to this. This is it. You 10 sinkers right here are in the finale to compete with the 9 other people that are against you. This is it. It's go time, folks. It's go time.
What about you, Nerox? Have anything to say?
In terms of going into the final round, like, one thing that I will say is, I said this earlier in this video, that a mashup is only as good as its constituent parts. If you have 4 sections, if one of those sections is absolute trash relative to the others, that's the one that's going to stick in my mind. Because it's really irritating when you see like 2 sections back to back that are very, very good, and then I have to bring your marks down because the next bit is just, it's not up to par, and that can be down to you using a game which doesn't really fit the thing you're going for, or the song choice you use isn't as high energy and high power and as technically deep as the others. I really didn't like mashups through this round because there were just so many of them, and so many of them suffered from the same problem over and over again, and it really wound me up towards the end. In terms of the actual final, though, or the next round in particular, to be honest, I'd like to see more emphasis on the theme, more emphasis on some, like the theme, the effects, the way you portray everything, the way you lay everything out, because, you know, a sync might be fantastic, but if it's got no setup, it's got no context, then it's just a good sync. If you really want to go above and beyond, start adding in like cinematic introductions that fit. So, for example, with my I think it was 2016 when I did 20,000 Power, like I did the intro on that, and it was me like fake taking a drug and then going into an effect, and then the whole gun sync experience was then a trip based on those drugs. That was the theme I was running with, and something like that, something that is completely out of the box and you wouldn't really like, something that makes me go, whoa, okay, and I have to step back and process what's happening. Something that you really can roll with and incorporate a lot of different things with it to make it more than just a sync. Tell me a story through your sync. Just anything, any mad theme you can come up with. Like, base it on the song if you can. Like, it's like, for example, some dubstep songs have very good, they have like a scene that gets set in the introduction, and then that leads into the build-up and you have the chorus. It's something like that. Just use your imagination and, well, have fun, I suppose. Like,
very wise, nice. I also agree with that. Anyways, we hope to see you again. See everyone else in 1.5 months.
1.5 months. You got it right, my dude.
Yeah.
But
make sure you pay attention to the Gun Syncing Lounge Discord. You will be receiving updates and possible surveys coming your way, so make sure you stay tuned to that. That'll be our hub for giving you news and updates.
And we wish every single syncer the best of luck in this finale, and it's gonna be a banger. I'm excited. This
is amazing.
And I also want to make another announcement too, that after the KOS finale is over, Kings of Syncs will be reopening submissions for regular submissions. So there'll be the community channel will be opened again. So feel free to send in your submissions if you're any other syncer listening to this video as well, just for regular submissions, and we can potentially upload them.
That's great.
There you go.
Wow. Hopefully you actually keep that promise this time.
I will keep that promise, motherfucker. Right, Jayden?
All right. I'm Dr. Jayden.
And I'm Escape the 4Z.
And see you in 1.5 months. Goodbye.
There you go. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.